I'm so jazzed up. Like, thank you so much for, accepting to do this with me. I am really, really excited to have you here.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Your first podcast that you shared was very good.
Thank
I'm not
you.
a podcast person, so I have to make a note to remember to listen.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
but
much.
I enjoyed listening, and I think it's a good concept. Great
Thank
concept.
you. Thank you. It means a lot. And I can access the my stats, so I can see the places people are listening to me from. So when I saw United Kingdom, I was like, it has to be Nandy. It has to be you because I saw like United Kingdom. I was like, oh, this is definitely Nandy. Thank you so much. It meant a lot to me.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, so welcome. You are already aware of, what the entire podcast is about. We are talking about true life stories and experiences that shape our lives, because people are going through things that they actually think is just peculiar to them. So what experience, what would you like to share with us today? Sorry.
I guess what came to mind so obviously is obviously COVID and its impact and how it's affected all our lives. And for me, it's like where I thought I was and where I am now and who I thought I was and who I'm coming to accept I am. So yeah, recently, obviously, I'm in the UK. Really huge call out for nurses to go back to nursing to help out with the expected high demand for healthcare workers as a result of the COVID pandemic. And I've been a nurse since 1998. I have been a specialist practitioner since 2002. So I left wardside nursing in 2002, which is
Okay.
about 18 years ago. I'm really, really old. But so for me, I have become very comfortable in what I do. I'm a workplace nurse specialist. I know my job. I'm very comfortable in my zone. I go there usually. I'm the expert in my field. When I go to meetings, it's comfortable. I know what I'm doing, comfortable.
Yes.
But when we were called to go back onto the wards, this required me to go back to a setting that I haven't done for a long time. I mean, nursing is nursing. You have to take care of your patients, understand their healthcare needs, support them, care for them, and administer their medical care. And unlike medicine, where you prescribe the treatment, nursing
Mhm.
delivers the treatment, and we supervise and ensure there are no counter indications, there are no reactions to it, and we monitor your progress.
Okay.
Um, and also, you've got the situation where, obviously, 18 years to now, when I was on the wards, we had in the day 14 patients to a nurse. And when I went back, they had 8 patients, 8 or 6, 8 at the maximum, 6 patients to a nurse. So for me, wow, this is luxury. This is a big improvement to how things used to be, because I remember the first time I went back, I I did my initial before you go back, because even though I'm a nurse, I haven't been bedside, so I had to go. I can do my baseline, basic life support, advanced life support. I need to do refreshers on all of these things, and
Mm-hmm.
also I was going to a COVID ward. I knew that that meant I was going to get COVID, even though there were lots of people who didn't expect that it meant that coming into contact with COVID patients meant they would get COVID. But I
Yes.
knew, because I'm a patient health advisor, that there was no way I could nurse a COVID patient without getting COVID. So
COVID.
I was going knowing that I would get COVID.
Oh
I
my
also live with someone who is deemed vulnerable. So it was thinking of, if I went and I knew that for me I would get it, but I thought that the in risks to me was so low,
Okay.
it was it was not significant to be a deterrent. So I
Yes.
wouldn't readily go to an Ebola ward as I would go to a COVID ward. That's
Okay.
the difference. So I waited, but I was also thinking, if I bring it to my home, that I could give it to this
To your
person who
kids,
is
yeah.
quite, well, not to my kids, because I thought my kids, he would be fine with it. And it was someone who is over 70 who has a heart condition. So it was to think of the impact that would have. So I did have a talk with this person, and they said it is possible for us to keep 2 meters between us and to separate. And being mindful of how infections transmit,
Yes.
it was possible to avoid me infecting him if I got sick.
Yes.
So it was with his lessons that I went. But for me, the biggest impact was going to become a student again. So I totally went knowing what COVID was, knowing the implications of it, knowing how to give medicine, knowing what I thought was nursing, to a totally different environment to what I was in 18 years ago. So my experience, although applicable on my first ward, was not relevant because what they needed, I didn't have the ability to deliver on. And that was a very humbling experience for me because I went there wanting to help.
Yes.
And what I could provide was very basic at that stage. So for my first shift, I actually ended up working like a healthcare assistant, even though the healthcare assistant that I was supporting was like, oh, you're getting paid as a nurse and you're just not taking any of the responsibilities. But that was because when you went back as a returnee, they started you as supernumerary, and then once you feel comfortable, then they would leave you on your own to the patients.
Yes.
So it was for someone who has always chosen to work on her own, who finds it easier to direct my own pace, to direct my own work schedule, I worked as an independent practitioner for a long time. So to go back to, I would say, the bottom rung of the nursing field. It's not the bottom rung because it wasn't, I mean, comparatively, but it was, I needed to accept that in here, I was not an expert.
Yes.
I needed to accept that in here, I needed to be shown how things are done now.
Okay.
And that was not easy for me.
I can understand.
No, because why? Because am I arrogant? No, I don't think I'm arrogant.
I think it's far from that. So let me ask you, how did it make you feel being separated? Because I want to believe that this person that you are describing that you had to be separated from, or not infecting, is your husband. I want to believe that. So
no, that's not my husband.
Okay.
No, that's my ex-husband.
Your ex-husband.
Yeah. So my husband is, yeah. No, not my husband. No. My kids, my older children's dad. So that is a whole different angle to me. I live in a commune or a home where I share accommodation with my ex-husband and my husband.
Oh wow. Okay, cool.
How did you not know this? I have talked about this so many times.
Honestly, I haven't been paying attention. And if you don't mind, please, you can, if it's not too much of a big deal for you, you can still walk me through it. Like, how are you sharing a space with your ex-husband and your husband? I mean, how are you guys able to blend in? Because I can imagine the chaos. I mean,
my ex-husband is my friend. So even after we decided that we were no longer compatible as husband and wife,
okay,
we agreed that we didn't have enough, that in the interest of the kids,
okay,
it was important to ensure that nothing changed for them and that we continued to parent them together.
Okay.
So because it wasn't really about him as a person, the reasons for our decision to separate as husband and wife was beyond our incompatibility as friends. So I respect him as a person. We have differences. However, I can respect him. I know he loves his kids. I love our kids. and we lived separately but in the same house for 2 years before I met my husband. So I am his next of kin. He is my friend. I consider him family, but he is my ex-husband as well.
This is such a fascinating story. Like I have never, honestly, I have never ever heard something of the sort. And okay, is he married? Has he moved on?
No. And this wouldn't work if, well, I don't think it wouldn't work. It may not work if he was remarrying or remarried, but it could work. I have no objection to him remarrying, but he is not interested in remarrying.
Oh wow! So, I mean, I don't know. Fascinating.
No.
And like I'm so fascinated. So he doesn't even have issues like any kind of underground issues, you know, seeing you with your current husband.
No, he's a very intellectual person.
And your present husband, sorry to cut you short, your present husband has absolutely no problem, you know, with him, his presence in the house.
My husband had difficulty initially, and for him it was a very big sacrifice to do this. Because when we got married initially, we lived away. So because I didn't want anything to change for the kids, we decided to keep them here in the family home where they have lived, and their school is a walk from here. At the time, we had a live-in nanny, so that helped to keep them here with him as a support. And that live-in nanny used to be my nanny from when I was a baby, so it was a bit like leaving my kids with my mom.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't difficult to support that setup, but it was difficult for me to be away from the kids. And I was only doing it because everyone said you can't live with your ex-husband and your husband. So I was living about 50 miles away from here, and we had our place, and it was fine, but I always used to come home to see the girls. So I'd go to work, come home and see the girls and drive back home. I was driving about 150 miles a day. It was stupid. I was only doing it not because of anything, but because everyone else said it's not proper to all live together. Whereas the main home is big enough for everyone to have their own space. So, like when I fell pregnant for my new husband,
yes,
and he saw the toll of the driving, and he was like, no, this does not make sense. And honestly, because it was also easier because my new husband moved into the country for me.
Okay.
So he didn't have roots in the country that would have made it difficult for him to move. So where we lived was up to us. So he said we should move to the area closer. And so we started looking somewhere closer. And I said, actually, I don't want to have another child who gets to live with me 7 days a week, and then her sisters live in a different house.
Yes.
And it would be very, very obvious to her that she's different and she's special. I don't want that. And my ex-husband, even from the onset, before we moved out on our own, so I was living with, we were sharing a home, and then when my husband moved to the UK, I moved into a different house.
Yes.
And my ex-husband at the time said that was a silly idea and that there is no need for that. We should all live together. And
wow.
My husband said, absolutely no way, absolutely no way. Until I fell pregnant, and I could not, like, he was like, no,
it was difficult. I understand, because I mean,
you saw the toll on me.
Yes.
He saw the toll on me, and he said, I can't do it. Honestly, I'm being selfish. This is really bad. and everyone is going to curse me and my family for doing this, but it's okay. Let's just let's just move
the,
in.
the most important thing here is that you guys have an understanding. Like, no one would know. No one can tell. I didn't even know that you lived in a house with your ex. I mean, this is
No, honestly, I have no issues
you are
with that.
flourishing.
And I
You're
would,
flourishing. You're looking beautiful. Like, I know what so many women are going through that are even remarried to someone,
yeah,
and they're not even living with their ex-husband. And a lot of people,
yeah.
a lot of women go through divorce, and you know the stigma that comes with divorce. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I say the worst thing we do ourselves is stigmatize divorce, because it's, and that's because of how we define marriage. We define marriage as something that is important to have, that it's good for the children, and for a lot of the time, we actually defining marriage not for the people involved, but for its impact on society.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've had, obviously, my life has been very interesting, and I'm describing it right now, but it's not all been smooth sailing. I have had periods of really acute loneliness and sadness and difficulty, and this blended family didn't happen easily. We went through, because my husband had to move in here for me, I had to learn to compromise to make him happy. So a lot of the petty arguments I don't do, because for me the ultimate is make his life comfortable so that we can, it's important to make this work.
Yes.
So you have to be, I've learned to be selfish. I've learned to pursue my own happiness. I've learned to please me, and most importantly, to please my kids. The most important thing, if I am not hurting my kids, that is all that matters. Now I have an African dad, and obviously this setup is not something, my dad he did very well, embracing all the things that I am not very conventional, so I kept giving him a lot of things that he had to get used to.
Yes.
But this was one thing that he had difficulty with. He had difficulty accepting it. And he would come here and he would get on very well with my husband, go out for drinks. And because my ex-husband is, honestly, he's a good person. There is nothing that anyone can say or do that would
honestly, I can tell he is. I can tell he is.
So I am not going, and my family knows that he's a good person. And eventually my husband has come to know that he's a good person. So it's not the same thing as someone who abuses you and you have to divorce.
Yes.
The reason for our divorce was because we had a 35-year gap between us.
Oh.
And when we got married, when we were getting married initially, everyone predicted that it wouldn't work. And so I was very, very determined to make sure it did.
It worked.
And probably our current arrangement is all part of me proving that even though it didn't work, look how it turned out. It didn't turn out that bad.
Yes.
So, yeah, we got to divorce inevitably, I guess. If my daughter came to me at 22 and told me she's marrying a 57-year-old man, I would advise her against it, but only based on my experience. But I would not forbid her from doing it. And it's a lesson I wouldn't change. If I go back in time, I would do the same thing. So
wow.
I learned something from the experience. However, it hasn't been without consequences. So yeah.
This is unique. And if I may ask, sorry, and you've never had situations where you're having issues with your current husband and you just want to find solace with your ex-husband, like you feel that he's the one who truly understands you because you have a relationship, like a friendship with him, as you describe. He is.
I would never do that.
Okay,
never.
you've never. Oh,
that
wow.
would be such a betrayal. I would never do that. And honestly, my husband is just too smart. It really is. And before I even think of the thing that is going to get me pissed off, he has anticipated it and mitigated it.
Oh my
Honestly,
God.
it's annoying because I keep saying, because also having been divorced before, I'm not scared of getting divorced. And sometimes, and I still see people like think are hunts. So it's not like I don't see other people that I like.
You are
But
defying culture, you are defying like the African norm, like because we have been taught to stick to one husband, even if we are suffering. No, but really, this is true.
yeah.
Even if we are suffering, we should die in silence. This is you just saying that you are not even afraid of divorce. Like the second time, you're still not afraid. I love how
Oh,
confident,
not at all.
how strong you are.
I'm constantly telling my husband we're in our 7th year this year, and I'm like, are you ready to change? Oh my God.
That is so beautiful. Nandy, thank you so
Sorry?
much for sharing. I said that is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even get to talk about the thing I came to talk about. The thing, my point really was don't be scared of putting yourself in places you're uncomfortable because it helps you to learn, reconnect with people, and it's important for us to always remember our humanity. And honestly, one thing that you one thing I'm grateful for because I fell into nursing. I fell into nursing because I was admitted to medical school. I came to the UK as an international student, and I simply could not afford the medical school bills. So it was £10,000 for nursing and £18,000 a year for medical school, and that was the reason why I became a nurse and not a doctor. So that's pure economics. But I am so glad that nursing found me because I think I am a better person because of that. I think I would be outrageous as a doctor.
Thank you. So, like, I was even I was still going to continue the conversation, but this time I wanted to, take it down a little bit to something more personal, if you would like to share with us. Have a lot of women struggle with their
I
bodies,
know.
or something about themselves that makes them insecure. And you ask, because I am trying now to overcome my
But
insecurity.
you know what? It's not because of anything, honestly. I'm sure that other people will look at me and think, why is she so confident? And honestly, I can't tell you a reason why, apart from I don't care what other people think. And
Okay.
I've been like that since I was a child.
And
Like I was telling you about
that you
this.
think it's a very good approach, right? If you want to live happy, do not care about what people think. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful.
I have never been someone who worried about other people's opinions.
Okay.
So I make up my mind to do something, I go along and do it. I am not intending to hurt anyone. If I hurt people, I will apologize if I knowingly hurt people. But I'm not trying to hurt anyone. So I don't really care what everyone people thinks about my opinion, my life, whatever. I've been like a size, I've been really huge and really small, and my attitude about my body is about, I am planning on having cosmetic surgery. That's not for anyone. It's not because of my husband says, oh, you've got whatever. No, it's because I want to look this way. It's for me. If it's not for me, it's not happening. So I think the main thing is to choose to be selfish. Everyone, regardless of what, are pursuing their own happiness. So you need to pursue your own happiness. It truly is that simple. And knowingly not hurt. But I would say I don't bear grudges, which is mainly true. I don't, but I'm less, I guess probably as I'm older as well, I'm less tolerant of, I was more forgiving than I am now.
Okay. What changed?
I'm just older. I just don't have as much time. I don't have as much time to worry about things I can't change. I'm very aware of how fleeting life is. I'm very aware of the fact that I'm not in control. So I'm not planning or putting on appearances or doing anything for anyone. I'm just living my life. That's it. And if you focus on that, do what you can. Do your best all the time what you can. That's it. You will be fine.
Oh
And
my
at the end of the day, like whatever you think is the worst thing that could happen, it would happen and nothing would. First of all, who would have imagined COVID would happen? And yet, look, the whole world has shut down, and still we go to sleep every night. We wake up in the same thing.
I mean,
Exactly. So just pursue your own happiness, seek and do you.
oh wow, oh wow. Thank you so much. Like, I can't tell you how impacted I am over this session. Honestly, I have learned so much from you. I am now learning, that I don't have to care about what people say, although I struggle with that. I am someone
Yeah.
who pays attention. I look at people's faces. I sometimes even imagine their thoughts. It's something
You
that
would,
I'm working. It's
yeah.
something that I'm working on.
That's something I've learned as well, is especially like in girls groups, it's very difficult. It's very easy to get into thinking what someone else was thinking. And I think it's usual because I have two daughters. I have one daughter who's very much like me and another daughter who's not. And it's innate. Both of them, their personalities have been like that. And so I'm trying, the one who is like me, I'm trying to guide her so that her journey is not as bumpy as mine has been. And the other one who cares what other people think, I'm trying to get her to understand that it doesn't matter, because no matter what she does, there will always be someone who will disapprove. So you should make your priority the main thing you're trying to achieve. It should be about what you want to do. And it should always matter. My dad always used to say, whatever you do in this world, it should have an impact. What are you contributing to society? What is the impact of it? It doesn't matter if you're making £1 million and it's all in your account so you can spend it all on yourself, blah, blah, blah. Does your life, does it benefit anyone? Does your work benefit anyone? And so long as your activities benefit in some way, you're good. And it's not just seek your own happiness. You'll be fine.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What would be your parting message to people who are struggling with anxiety, although it is something that you cannot relate with, right?
I've had anxiety.
Okay. What would be your parting message to people who are struggling with anxiety or any mental, disorder? People are committing suicide every day. The rate at which people are committing suicide is alarming. So what would be your comment? What would you say to them? Okay.
Seek medical help. This is a genuine medical illness. There is help available. There's a reason why we continue to research about this, and there are chemical imbalances that contribute to this. Get out of your head and seek help. There is help out there, but of course, I'm speaking from a UK point of view, but I hope all these medications, I'm sure they exist in Ghana. So seek help, speak to someone. You're not on your own. It is not normal. You do not have to deal with this on your own. You can get help, speak to people, talk, seek out, talk to a friend. Don't get into your head. It's very easy. Once you get into your head, you isolate, you repeat the negative thoughts, they perpetuate, they become real. So get out of your head and seek help.
So what I would say as our closing, right, we are coming to the end of our conversation, and it has been informative for me. It has been informative, and I hope it will be to the listeners, people that eventually will listen to this recording. So what I would say to anyone out there that is struggling with any kind of situation, like Nandy just told us that she is in her second marriage, and she's blending peacefully with her husband and her ex-husband and her kids. So my advice to anyone that is in any form of abusive marriage, whether it is physical abuse, emotional abuse, what kind of abuse, look for help. If he beats you, please leave. I'm not going to say stay. There's no way for me to sugarcoat this thing. I'm not going to encourage violence.
You deserve it.
You deserve better. Yes, you deserve better. So please leave. If it's an emotional abuse and you think you can, stay, find help. Get help. Get someone, cancel the both of you. And if it's something that I mean, for me, I think emotional abuse is just as powerful as physical abuse. What do you think?
Of course.
Words
Yeah,
hurt.
nice people.
Words hurt a lot. It even hurts more than I could even get over beating that you probably just gave to me. But those things that you say to me will sink in. Those things that you say to me would, taunt me for a very long time. So it doesn't matter what, if you can seek help for emotional abuse, please seek help. But if it's something that you cannot deal with, if it is something you cannot deal with, please leave. And if you're also going through insecurities, anxiety, anything, seek help. Look
Can
for
I
people.
say about this? Can I
Look
say
for
about
people.
this point about words hurt?
Okay.
My thing that I'm constantly telling my girls when they say, "Oh, she said this and she did," and I say to them, if she is telling you something
Okay.
that you know it's not true, it doesn't make what they're saying true. It makes them a liar. So you cannot come to me crying because your sister said you've got a big head when you know you don't have a big head.
Good.
She's a liar. It's not true. You don't get to cry. This is how I am with them. Just because someone said it doesn't make it true.
It's true.
So
Yes.
don't mind people's opinions on you does not make it true. People's statements about you does. It is important to have this belief about yourself because the world out there is mean. It's mean. People are going through all their really appalling situations and they lash out. They lash out, and you just need to. I always say that when someone is being mean to you, you have to just think that they're having a bad day. It's not about you. You really need to acknowledge it's not about you and do not take it on board. It's not about you. It cannot be about you.
That says it all.
Yeah.
Says it all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We hope to,
Send me a link and I'll put it on my Facebook.
Sure. Thank you so much. And you guys help us share the link on all of your social media platforms. And until we meet again, you guys stay safe. Nandy, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I love you so much. Bye.
Good evening.